Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, welcome, welcome. You already know who it is. What a day to be black, what a day to be beautiful, and what a day to be alive. First and foremost, I do apologize. I am on the way. I'm just driving, but I would like you guys to welcome to another week of Orlando Strong. I definitely wish and hope that everybody had an awesome week. We definitely got a great show scheduled for you guys. Of course, let me introduce everybody that we have on. Welcome to my team. Welcome to the Strong Team. Shout out to production, my man B Scover. Shout out to my mans. I have my man Jay Wise in the building, the one and the only, the living legend. So say what's up to him, guys. I have my man Twan D, my big brother. Please excuse him. He's just coming out of the dream world, guys. So please give him an excuse. You know how it is. So please give him an excuse. And then also I have MJ. I'm not talking about Michael Jordan, but I am talking about the MJ. We have MJ on the show. MJ. She was here last week with us. We definitely enjoyed her, so we're definitely bringing her back. Guys, what's up, man? Welcome.
What's up, family?
What's up?
Jay Wise, how was that stream you were just on, Jay Wise? We got it up on the Orlando Strong page for everybody to check out when they can.
Oh, you got it up on the page?
Yep, sure do.
Yeah, it was a great conversation amongst some brothers. Promise Magnum, he has his own little show. He got like a dozen of shows that he got going on his platform. A good set of brothers just talking about, the state of the community and, what can we do to push it forward, and, we talked a little bit about tech, and behind the scenes, these brothers were really into their technology. So it was good to get a little nerdy with the brothers. So
oh, that's good. You're a little bit of a tech nerd.
We all know you're nerd.
Super. There's nothing wrong with it.
So let's how's it first and foremost, how's everybody's day? MJ, I see your hands on your cheeks. Talk to me, baby. Come on, my queen. Talk to me, my queen. What's going on?
I'm going through it. But no,
we gotta check up on you, because I gotta say, like, we just met, but it doesn't. Sometimes you don't have to tell people the way that you are. It just reflects naturally. And you're just you exude like caring and loving and all that. Even in that chat that we go back and forth with, like, you're making sure everybody's doing okay. And we're always looking out for John. He's our little baby brother all the time, but you're always right there making sure everybody's all right. So we got to make sure you're good too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm doing well. I'm doing great. I appreciate y'all. I know I don't look like I'm doing well because I look like somebody's grandma.
You look amazing, first of all. Stop the madness.
I literally, other than my cavity, I'm great. I'm blessed. My mom she's here, and yeah.
Hey, mom, if you're watching,
I don't even know if she's watching, but I'm happy to be here. How are y'all?
We're doing great.
Good.
I'm doing great. Well, guys, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna have Twan lead the show in, guys. We got a couple great conversations in for you guys. We're gonna talk about some protests. We're gonna talk about some advocacy. We're gonna talk about some other different things that's gonna be going on. We also have my man Said that's gonna be coming on. I don't know if he's having a little bit of technical difficulties right now. B, you can give us an update on that as soon as you can.
Yep, as soon as we come to the call.
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead. Twan, go ahead, brother. We're gonna have you start off. First of all, how's your day? How you doing? And then we'll go from there.
My day was good. 1 year anniversary at my job.
Yeah,
pretty cool. Shout out to Wyndham Destinations for holding the boy down for the past year. But other than that, man, everything's been good. Today's just a day. As I told you, I just popped up out I don't be meaning to fall asleep, bro. Like my girl be thinking I be meaning to fall. I don't mean to. You know what I'm saying? It's not a thing that I mean to do. You know what I'm saying?
It's just something you have to do, right?
Right. It's not anything I mean to do.
I have to tell my wife that I'm falling asleep because my body's respecting itself and it's tired and it needs the rest.
Right, like I call it a doze. So
right?
like yeah, I need a doze. But I be gone, man. I be gone.
Like, I don't know how long we went out for, but 15, 20 minutes, a half hour can change your whole day. That's all the rest you really need.
Man, for real. But I guess since the young king wants me to particularly kick it off. I know that we were talking about we're going to be talking about continuous things going on in the community, allyship. I know one of the things that I was looking at this week was the Orlando City Council meeting.
Yeah.
There were some things proposed there a lot of good things that was proposed, and obviously, hopefully, proposals and actually action is two different things. But they were talking about additional training, follow-ups, mental psych evaluations. The commissioners was really big on that. Ramon was really transparent. It got a little spicy. One of the sheriffs or whatnot felt some kind of way. The insinuation of all police. Like I think I guess what I'll segue into is this whole misconception, right? I think it's a big misconception in regards to what Black people are mad at and what we've been mad at, right? So it's like, and I'm not here to speak for all Black folk, but I'll speak in general in terms of my perspective. It's kind of, I made a post earlier this week, and someone was talking about the whole Black on Black crime and how it's a deflective. And one of the things I said was, if you think that this is about not liking white people, then kick rocks with no socks. This is about ultimately a system, right, of white supremacy that is designed to keep certain people with that ideology in power, right? With respects, we can admit that is white men. It doesn't mean that all white men feel that way, right? But under the system that we're trying to attack, under the system that we're trying to destroy, it creates all of these things that we are upset about. So one of the things I wanted people to understand is it's about good and evil. And this system is an evil system that everyone has to operate under. Okay. And this is the system that we're trying to destroy from an educational standpoint, from a police standpoint, from a governmental standpoint, from every aspect of it, right? We are trying to destroy it. This is what created the disparity of women executives and men executives in jobs, or women fighting for their right to vote, or us, fighting for, just basic human rights, not even civil rights, but just human rights, right? These are the things. So one thing that I want to establish is the Black Lives Matter ideology and the Black Lives Matter movement, the actual organization, right? And so it's important that we establish that, because we understand the organization and who runs that and things of that sort. The blanket statement, Black Lives Matter, I think what everybody is down for, and that's the particular movement. And family, we are seeing right now that the media is just making everything like a Black Lives Matter thing, right? And so the idea of that, the idea of Black Lives Matter is what we're talking about. Now, one thing that I want to bring to the table and I want to challenge the community on is we can have the conversation in regards to police brutality, but we also have to have the conversation in regards to gun and street violence. So when we out here on road and we fighting for brothers to not be killed unarmed by a cop, we're not even talking about a white cop, right? Because naturally it's going to be a white cop, because brothers in the inner cities, obviously with our image of cops, they don't aspire to be cops, right? Then the majority of cops are going to be in the inner cities. So just from probability alone, it's probably going to be a white man and a brother. We understand that. But at the same time, we can be loud about that, but we also got to be loud about these babies dying. On the 4th of July, what was in Atlanta or Chicago, we talking about babies being shot and killed. Yeah. We talking about babies dying. So what I'm here to do is let everybody know that, at least for me, we have to wage war on everything that is attributing to our genocide. And I use that term because that's exactly what it is. When you talk about Planned Parenthood, when you talk about what's going on with the police, when you talk about the continued systemic disenfranchisement, and you add on street and gang violence to that, that is genocide, family. That is genocide. And I'm not one to say we can't talk about that conversation. Now, I do agree when we are talking about police brutality and that's the conversation, at that moment, it needs to be the conversation. But at the same time, we also have to be just as loud about our brothers and our sisters being killed. There was a kid in New York, graduated high school diploma and everything, gunned down. So we have to be loud because we can't let the supremacists say, oh, well, what about black on black violence? You understand what I'm saying? And I want everybody to understand something. I'm not going to say, if you remember the movie Boys in the Hood, the intro of that movie, and this is John Singleton, God bless him dead, a brother. The intro of that movie, the message in that movie is black on black crime. Now that phrase was coined by our culture in regards to the violence against us. But what the media has tried to do and what people have tried to do is use that to combat what goes on with police brutality, which was also shown in that movie. And if y'all remember that movie, when they stopped Ricky and when they stopped Cuba Gooding Jr., I forget his name right now, it was the black cop that was the worst. So it showed that and it depicted that, but it also depicted the things that we have to do in our communities. And I call out and rage war against everything that is contributing to our genocide. So family, I want to put that question on the table, and I guess I'll swing it to Wise first. We know we have the Stop the Violence walk this month, the 25th, right? In honor of the young brother Dexter that's supposed to be at Louisville right now playing football. But as a young man is no longer here with us. We lost a young great artist that Posthumous album just came out Friday. Pop Smoke, lost him at 19. So family, we see in the hood, we go to these stores, we see these kids on t-shirts, man. And if you look at the years that they're born and the years that they died, it's sad, right? Because a lot of these young brothers are getting more years for killing someone than they lived on earth. So I want to bring this conversation to the table in regards to what steps can we do. I know Miles talked about the OGs, the real lifers, which I'm all about. Tupac was all about. I mean, the Thug Life rules was really laid out in regards to controlling street and gang violence. You're right, because we understand that it's nothing we could do to stop it, but if we could find a way to control it and create certain codes and create safe zones and things of that sort, we can slowly rebuild. So Wise, I want to swing that to you in regards to how do we, while doing this movement and keeping the music loud on this thing, we also turn it up on this thing, because in my opinion, it's all helping contribute to our genocide, man. And these young brothers don't even have a chance. And I think what that does is, for those that want to do us harm, that gives them extra incentives to do us harm, because they're looking at it like, oh, well, these dudes don't care about each other. They out here killing each other. So why can't we? And again, that's for those that want to do harm. But Wise, I want to swing it to you and kick that off and see your feelings about that and what steps should we take in regards to shifting it. And the reason that I use the Black Lives Matter organization is because Don Lemon said something to Terry Crews that was really bothersome. He said, Black Lives Matter isn't about other things as far as street violence goes. If you want to focus on that, then create something else. But Black Lives Matter is solely about police brutality. Now, I'm a former artist and I'll be an artist to the heart. One thing that I'm big on is words. So when you say Black Lives Matter, what are you actually? There we go. So I'm gonna give it to you.
Yeah. So thank you for bringing that up, Twan. And it's a real good question. And we should all be asking ourselves this, right? If we are going to participate in a Black Lives Matter movement, and I'm not talking about the organization, I'm saying the concept, the movement, then we need to reevaluate ourselves, right? So currently we have this cliche thing right now, right? That cancel culture, right? So if we're looking to cancel police brutality and cancel all the negative stigmas that's in regards to how Black people are treated in this country, we also have to take a good look at ourselves as well, right? We have to cancel things that is playing a role in the destruction of our character, in the destruction of our image. And I'm talking about in the music. If you're bumping a song that's talking about a brother wanting to go kill another brother and just spitting out all this misogynistic content about Black women, trying to promote this foreign concept that foreign women are more valuable than Black women, we need to cancel them. We need to cancel those artists. We need to cancel those type of movies that depict us in those negative ways. We need to cancel the artwork, those images, those I don't know. I think it's a lot of these contents that's in. Hey, we need to cancel bad diet. You know what I'm saying? And we need to be pro health and exercise.
Yeah, to swing it back to you real quick. The elder, one of the elders I follow, Farrell, said that he had an actual video that said Black Lives Matter until it's time to eat.
Right.
So you're right about that.
Yeah, and we got to be aware of that because we already know that a large majority of the Black community is suffering from high blood pressure and diabetes and diabetes. So we need to cut back on the sugar. We need to cut back on the salts. We need to make sure that we're eating healthy and we care about ourselves as well. So, like I said in previous conversations, when we engage in transformation of ourselves, then we engage in transformation of the world. So we need to look at ourselves first. I know that we're fighting a battle right now, and I'm all for everybody uniting for this cause. But don't forget your home as well. We need clean. It don't make sense to just throw out the trash, but you ain't mop or sweep the kitchen. You ain't vacuum the bedrooms. You ain't. You know what I'm saying? So we need to really fix our home up as well at the same time while we're fighting this cause. So I think a lot of the brothers who's out here, in the gang culture, aren't really aware of what they're doing. They're operating unconsciously. You know what I mean? So maybe we should be like at that moment where Jesus said, forgive them for they not, the quote. You know what I'm saying? Forgive them for they know not what they do. Right. But we also have to be on code as well. We have to be prepared to check them when they're operating in this manner. So, if we're gonna be canceling Starbucks, then we have to be prepared to cancel Cardi B if they're depicting the negative stereotypes in our community. So,
is there a separation? I'll ask you guys between how real things that happen in the art and the culture of the music, as far as it being real versus a characterization, so to say, like the artists who are saying the things that they're saying or doing the things they're doing, are they really doing those things and saying those things, or is that an art and it's, you understand where I'm going? You understand
so they aren't most of the time. When I was in the industry, I know Twan could probably attest to this too. A lot of these artists aren't living that life.
Be lying.
And you know what? I want to add as well, because I've been to the table, right? I've been to the table with Sony, with Def Jam. Twan could confirm that. And I'll tell you, like, I had an instance where a contract was on the table and I didn't sign it. because they wanted me to create the type of music that I was not a part of. Like I wasn't living that kind of life, but they wanted that type of music. Right. And that kind of speaks to the fact that we're not controlling our music as well. And, you know, as consumers, we got to be cognizant of that. You know, where are you putting your dollars? Like I said in our last stream, you know, everybody's an activist. How are you actively using your dollars? Are you supporting these artists that's putting out this type of music that's destroying our community?
And I think just to piggyback off Wise, you know, in the quote, obviously, as y'all know, one of my favorite people, Tupac, as he said, it's not irresponsible until you don't talk about the other side of it. Talking about gang banging and not talking about the negative side of it is irresponsible. Talking about drug dealing and not talking about the other side of it is irresponsible, right? And I think that's what it is. Coming from someone that a lot of the music that I listen to, it helped me navigate through life. But I was able to understand, okay, this is something that I don't do, but this is something that actually contributes to my life. There is no social commentary anymore. Now, I'm not going to be the old man, get off my lawn, and I'll give props and I'll say, I love what Lil Baby is doing. I love the you know, the message that he's putting out. YG, the Baby just remixed one of his songs. So there is, you know, some young brothers in the industry right now that are saying, you know what, let me take this moment to really say something. And I've always been a firm believer that if hip hop just for 1 year chose to just talk positive, we could see a change amongst our community. And I don't, you know, obviously we're talking about parenting and things of that sort, but I'm gonna be real with you. I still snuck and listened to music that my mom didn't want me to.
Sure.
You feel what I'm saying? So this has nothing to do with parents. And I've always thought it was an irresponsible take to say, well, it's up to your parent to whoop, the whoop, the whoop, because guess what? Your parent ain't as cool as what you saying. You know what I'm saying? But if I'm listening to something, if I'm listening to a brother and he say something in that record that my dad and me just had a conversation about, it's able to resonate more. I'm not just thinking that my dad is preaching to me because I heard Lil Baby say it, or I heard the Baby say it, or I heard Rod Wave say it. So I think it is a big responsibility. And when you say you're the voice of the people and, art imitating life and things of that sort, a lot of it still is. But the industry has been caught on to deriving the message, you know what I'm saying? From self-destruction to I'm gonna kill a nigga. You know what I'm saying? And so it presents that same energy when you're doing something in real life. You know, if you're playing football, you probably gonna listen to something rowdy. If you're going to fight, you probably you ain't listening to no R&B.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? You ain't listen to no John Legend about to go see nobody.
I'll tell you right now, and Cedric will say this too. You walk by the local hockey team locker room and listen to what they're listening to before they go to battle. There's a lot of rapping, hip hop, and EDM.
It's turning up. You feel me?
But you know, sometimes we get to the point where we listen to war music a little too much.
Right. And again, right. If you want to
pumped out, and it gets just like most of the negative things that dominate our media, they get lifted onto a pedestal because they can sell the negativity.
Right. Now, I want to swing it to MJ because we have a sister on the platform, and then Said can piggyback. In regards to what Wise talked about, right? Because I remember a time in hip hop where you had, Queen Latifah with who you calling a bitch, UNITY, you know what I'm saying? And, MC Light and, all these women that had their clothes on, but was speaking about a message. Obviously, it seemed to change when Foxy and Little Kim came, and it started being real sexualized. So we fast forward and we see female artists like Rhapsody, who is not getting their just due in regards to the message they're trying to preach. As a Black woman, how do you feel compared to because I don't know how old you are, so don't let me assume, but compared to the music that you grew up listening to, and then compared to now, or even overall, if it's still changed, how do you feel when you hear certain songs about how the Black woman is being depicted in music? And do you think that does trickle over into how brothers, treat sisters in their relationship?
Absolutely. For me, like I'm 24. I grew up listening to like 90s music, early 2000s. You know, you have artists like Beyonce and Aaliyah, R.I.P., who brought sex appeal, but also knew how to hold themselves to a standard and still being powerful, still be these highly respected women. I have no issue if you want to be half naked and what have you. That's for a woman to decide for their body. But it's also about, like what you're saying, the lyrics that they're saying. I don't personally, this isn't to bash these artists, but I don't listen to the City Girls. I don't listen to Cardi B. As much as I love Meg The Stallion as an individual, I don't even listen to half of her music. So I feel like it's this persona, and it's this, it's almost like a game, and it's what sells, like you all were saying earlier. And we have to be careful what we digest, because I think you were asking if it reflects in how Black men treat Black women. Absolutely. Look at the music videos. If you look at a music video from the early 2000s, now granted it's not the best, but you're going to see darker skinned women. You're going to see even the R&B music videos are, you're seeing sensual connection with a Black woman, whether it should be dark skinned or not. I'm not even going to say that because I don't want to discredit any lighter skin complexion women, making them feel less of a Black woman. But just to say, if you look at the music videos now, you don't. It's almost revolutionary. You see a Black woman in a music video. You have artists like Lil Wayne who says stuff like "beautiful Black woman, I bet that look better red." That is an actual lyric from his song.
Yeah, it is.
And he just had 50 Cent on with, I don't know what kind of platform they were doing, but
yes, Young Money Radio. It's
Young Money. Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad you segued into that, because I was gonna segue into that. So go ahead and segue.
It's not the first time that 50 Cent has said something degrading about Black women, talking about exotic women are better, and then Lil Wayne sat there laughing and co-signing. And what blew my mind, you have people in the comments, I believe Waka Flocka comment was like, come on, man, but are they checking them? Are they actually using their voices and their platforms to really speak about how, because Lil Wayne is still praised as one of the greatest rappers of my generation. So it's like, how are you canceling them? Are you really, like, there has been so many comments that Lil Wayne himself has made, and other rappers are not coming up and saying some. Kodak Black disrespected Lauren London when Nipsey passed, and he just recently apologized to Nipsey. So you're going to apologize to a man who's no longer here, but you can't apologize to Lauren London. It just, but nobody's going to say anything. But people were on him because, oh, you disrespected Nipsey, but y'all are not going to say anything about how he disrespected Lauren London, a Black woman. It's just, but you have people who are listening, the people who are streaming, the people who are buying their merchandise and following them on Instagram and what have you, and that's what they are digesting. That's what their mind is consuming, and when they speak those messages, they're speaking it forth, they're speaking it into an existence, and that's what they believe.
Cedric, you want to piggyback off that? What I want to give you some background. 50 Cent was touching on how Black women from the hood are angry, right? He was speaking from a place of where he comes from. And I think a lot of time that's another thing we got to do is we got to give it context, right? When we talk about crime amongst our people in our neighborhoods, we're talking about the inner cities, you know, and the same thing. So he was talking about, you know, being from the block, the neighborhood, and how, you know, the women that he experienced is different from the woman on the block, you know, because she's not angry, she's not this, she's not that. And I want to dive deeper into a cultural, you know, reason in that regard. Now, Reginae, who is Lil Wayne's oldest daughter, she did tweet against it and said, I'm Black, I'm exotic, I'm beautiful. You know what I mean? So she, 50 Cent's fiance or girlfriend said, don't worry, ladies, I slapped him upside his big old head. You know, so that he was checked in that regard. Even 50 kind of put something on his IG saying that Shade Room kind of chopped it up and whatever. But for the most part, I mean, you know, it was said, I've been on record and have had conversations with brothers in regards to black women having a mean streak, but I understand what it is and where it comes from. So Cedric, I want to, get your opinion in regards to, do you think brothers, again, going back off my observation that I had last week in regards to a brother dating a white woman or whatever the case may be, let's expand it. Do you think brothers go for the foreign or whatever the case may be because of certain things that they may not want to deal with the homegrown black woman? And how do you feel about the whole, she foreign and she's exotic and whatever that means? It things.
How you get more exotic than the black woman?
That's why I'm like, whatever that means. But this depiction, and I really think it does derive from the experience that brothers have had, right? It's the same thing that I was talking about last week. And MJ, I want to swing back to you after said, because I want to ask you a question. But do you think it derives from the certain experience that a brother may have with a black woman, to where, again, like I said, maybe he's not edgy enough, or maybe he just don't like the yelling and all that other stuff, and he feels like this woman is just a lot more easier going. When, shout out to my Spanish women, they will tell you and cut you up, you understand? So how do you feel about that, said, in regards to the experience a brother may have? Do you feel it's directly based on them having a bad experience? And you can speak personally too.
And just want to thank you for the floor. Thank everybody for being here. First of all, it's very moving to have this conversation. I don't know if y'all can tell, I've been a little tense tonight, but just listening to y'all express, the black experience, and on a platform where y'all, have the opportunity to educate, people who don't look like us. Happy to be here, y'all. So first and foremost, I did address it at some.
Oh man,
that always happens when someone starts talking. That's when the internet has a glitch, right?
Point last week, I believe, and me. No, it's me. Is it everybody?
No, you're good now. I think we got you now.
You good, Said?
He glitched out.
I think Said glitched out. So I want to swing back to MJ, and then if Said comes in, we'll have Said finish. If not, Wise, I want you to.
It's gonna keep.
Okay, yeah. Wise, I want you to piggyback off of what MJ stated based on this question. So something you said last week made me think. So I want to ask you this question. Don't think I'm attacking anybody on the platform. It's gonna keep going
in and out, but
I am not attacking the sister at all. But I was curious, based on what I said last week in regards to brothers. Do you think, with you stating that, I don't really feel overall that black men are protecting, black women are queens. The depiction in music videos, so forth and so on. Now you love who you love, of course. Now, but I'm gonna put myself out here. I'm never gonna ask a question. I'm not gonna put myself on the line. I remember at one point in time saying, you know what? I'm not dealing with black women no more. I'm gonna go get me a Spanish woman. I'm gonna get me somebody gonna call me Poppy, go cook, what I'm saying? I'm gonna just go and get me some, and then, it doesn't happen. Do you think your experiences with black men is what led you to be more open-minded to date a white guy, or does it not have any correlation?
For me personally,
right.
No. Again, I am from East Tennessee. All I was around white folks. I genuinely don't know if my relationship would even have happened had I not come from the background that I come from. I don't know if I would, because even now, like, once I moved to Orlando and I was exposed to more people, I've been more familiarized with black men. I've been familiarized with other ethnicities as well, but not even just that, but myself. I've gained more knowledge of who I am and my culture and my background to where I have a better appreciation for Black men as a whole, to where I could be like, okay, brother, like I see you with just in general. Whereas where I'm from, I'm not exposed to Black men. They're nowhere around. And when they are, yes, most of them are dating white women. And it's not to like really even put them down for that. That's just what we had access to.
The environment.
Right. Coming
it's like a brother moving to North Dakota.
Right. Okay.
No, no sisters.
The Spanish comment, because there are a lot of men who will say like, oh, Black men are angry and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, but you are okay with, oh, well, you know, Spanish women are crazy. So it's okay if you just don't understand. Like, I don't understand that. I've never understood that. And I believe a lot of Black women who are probably watching this or watch it later on can understand it as well. It's like, it's always okay for somebody else to be crazy,
right?
But not for, but it's sexy, it's whatever. But when it's a Black woman, and it really is hard for me to understand the narrative of a mad Black woman as well, because as a Black man, Black men should understand that we have these struggles. Black men that have anger and what have you because of what they go through as well. So It's like you would think that they would understand, and I say they as a vast majority, not, you know, but it's so hard for me to understand that.
Wise?
Yeah. So just to touch on the whole 50 and Lil Wayne situation, see, the women that are dealing with men with that perspective have to be careful, because now you're viewed in a sense of you're fulfilling a man's fetish.
Yep.
So he's not with you for you. He's with you because of the color of your skin, because of some sexual fetish that they have.
Sure.
And we again, you got to be careful with these men, because now it's sort of like you're a token, you're a sign of success, you're something that they were looking to conquer. And if you go and look up the definition of conquer, you'll see that it has to deal with taking over foreign land. So with them taking over someone who's foreign, they've conquered it. I've done it. But then your relationship have no substance, you know, lack communication, lack commitment, because they out to conquer another. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Thank you for that.
John, I'd be interested to hear your point of view, especially on the music thing, because of your experience in music and because of your youth. And I mean, I remember, I grew up in New York City in the 90s when, Hot 97 was the rule. It was Hot 97 or K-Rock, and I listened to both. And, you know, you're talking about, you know, men and women who were, you had Sir Mix-a-Lot was 1994, Baby Got Back. So let's not forget that those songs were made too, but the message was so much stronger in the late 80s, early 90s in the music. And then today, maybe the message is there and we just don't hear it because music is fueled by social media and TikTok. And, you know, what's a good single lyric, you know, about a Lamborghini and a cop car, and what sounds good to do a dance to. But like, if you're a young person, and I like those songs, and I think that's why John's giggling, because I'm a top 40 baby from the beginning. So like as a young person, John, like, do you think that message is coming through the way that it came through in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s in the music, or is it not there? You're muted, John. You got to unmute yourself. I can't hear him. Man, I set him up good too.
So what I'll do is, while we're waiting for
go
John,
ahead and read Sed's.
Yeah, you want to read it? Yeah, I was going to read it. You want to read it?
No, go ahead. You got it.
Okay, so Cedric was having internet problems. So this is what Cedric was saying. As I said last week, my view of Black women was ancestral, to the point where the Black woman directly around me, my mom and my two sisters, were put on a Black pedestal, and looking at other women outside of that were also looked at like sisters to me. I didn't feel like I could look at a woman who reminded me of my sisters or my mom and feel attracted to them. My school was full of other options that I found attraction to. I can say though, the same way we learn a thing, we can, hold on, let me scroll down. We can unlearn a thing In my time away from those schools and in the world away from my sisters, I begin to grow fond of sisters.
Cedric and I actually had that conversation where he expressed that to me, like privately. We had that conversation. And you can't knock someone for their feelings and their viewpoints. I'm glad that, Antoine, I'm glad you asked me what my viewpoint was, what my personal experience was, because everybody's is so different.
Absolutely. One of the things, John, are you here? I still can't hear the young brother. So one of the things that I also, while we're on this subject, talk about is what that leads to from a young man, right? This is the term I'm gonna use, and forgive me if I offend anybody, but I grew up, my mom, right, the term strong Black woman, had 2 jobs, raising 2 boys by herself, no government assistance. Not knocking anyone that has that. That's not what I'm saying, but like she literally, did it by herself. But she had a mean streak, right? She was what I like to call a little mouthy. You know what I'm saying? She had, she had that edge to her. And I remember saying to myself, man, I'm never going to date a woman like my mom. But subconsciously, what I found out in myself and what I found out in a lot of brothers, regardless of what our relationships are, but especially, and I had a bad relationship with my mom growing up for other things, that if the topic warrants it, I'll definitely, be transparent about that. So with having this bad relationship with my mom, I came up with this thought that I don't want to date anyone like my mom. And subconsciously, what ended up happening was that's all I was dating. And so do you feel that it creates a subconscious thing in a young Black man, right? Because we say that the first, man a woman knows love from is from her father. So with that same respects in regards to a man, and when you see men and how they treat their woman, you can really say, okay, well, what kind of relationship does he have with his mom? Right. You know what I'm saying? You got to remember 50 Cent was raised by his grandma and his grandfather. Lil Wayne, even though, his mom was there, his dad wasn't around, and really Baby took him on the wing. So we are talking about brothers that had a different circumstance. So and the floor is open for anybody. What do you feel about that thought process? Do you think that is a thought process that happens in regards to whatever the type of relationship that a young Black male has? He's probably going to have the same type of relationship with his woman.
It's hard for me to be the one to lead to speak, because in respect to the question, I'm obviously not a Black man, but as a man, I think that some of those things are universal, regardless of who you are or where you come from. Right. You hear a lot that you could tell, like you said, just to reiterate what you said, you could tell a lot about a man, the way he treats his mom, the way he talks to his mom, the way he reveres his mom, sees his mom. And a lot of people who have problems, they don't necessarily have the best relationships or any relationships with their parents, either one of them. So, as far as obviously the subject at hand and being a Black man, I can't speak to that, obviously, but as a man, it's definitely prevalent for every one of us that we were molded by the relationships with our families, with our parents in particular. And I know that, my dad passed in 2016, and that's an element, that another thing that people don't understand, how it molds you and how it affects you, as far as loss and not having, one of the people who put you on the planet, they're not there anymore. Whether you have a relationship with them or not, it still affects you. And it still molds you as far as the person that you are. So I don't want to I want everybody to comment, but I wonder if there's some of these things that we talk about that are obviously, with the subject matter that we're in right now, that it's completely relevant when we talk about a Black man and we talk about Black women and things like that. But do you think some of these subjects are more universal than just the core of what we're talking about here, to the point of where there's a lot to say, there's a lot to that idea, just as a human being, just as a person, that, it's just something that we all are programmed with, because we all have 2 parents. Most of us have 2 parents. and they mold the kind of people we are. So, I don't know really how that even ties in the conversation, but yeah, I mean, that's,
No, I mean, and you're right. There are going to be a lot of things that, are more so, universal, in that regard. Right. I think the reason why, it's so specific in regards to our community is, I think it's more so we're all talking about this based on the father not being around. Right. So I don't know if I have this type of relationship with my mom if my dad is in the home. He's around, sure, right? But I don't know if I have this type of relationship with my mom if he's there. Right. Right. I don't know if 50 Cent has the same depiction of black women if his mom stayed alive his whole life, or if his dad is in his life. I don't know. And so it all leads back to the father, right, being in the home, showing the male how to love his woman, right, how to respect his woman, and things of this sort. And I think that in our community so much, and I love your perspective, Brian, because you made a great point. But I think to answer the question that you had in there, I think the reason why it's highlighted, right, is because in our communities, right, there is a lot of single parent homes, and that single parent normally is the mom, and then what your dad tell you, man, you got to be the man in the house now that I'm not there, right? So now a lot of times, and forgive me if I'm saying the word wrong, but it creates this Oedipus complex, right? Like Ving Rhames said in Baby Boy, you think your mama is your woman, right? But this is my woman, what I'm saying? Right. And so being a man of the house, and I found myself helping paying bills early. You know what I'm saying? Helping paying early. You feel me? Because that's just something that is like, my dad told me I gotta be a man in the house. Right. My mama need help. And I think this is what leads young brothers that don't have a father that I still had in my life. This is what leads them to go and look up to the hustlers and the pimps and the things of that sort. You know why? Right. Because when that young brother see his mama cry, when she opened that bill and the light bill, and overhear his mom talking to her friend about she don't know how she's going to keep the lights on and give me lunch money tomorrow, or whatever the case may be. Sure. If you don't have that foundation, even though my dad wasn't around, I had that foundation. If you don't have that foundation, period, you hitting the block. Yeah. You hitting the block. And it's about nothing at the end of the day but helping my mama out, right? And that's what it's all about. I mean, we could talk about, man, you're killing your own people. And yes, that's true. Yes, that is so true. But that's not what that brother is thinking about at that time. That brother is thinking about, man, the light bill, 200. I need to make 300 so I can put 200 towards the light bill, 100 towards the groceries. Mama gonna be straight, right? When we rap, the number one thing is, buy my mama a house. I want to buy my mama a house. I want to take my mama, so she don't have to work. Whoop de whoop. That's our claim to fame, because we grew up and we saw that particular struggle, which leads me to the understanding and the mind, and to be mind boggled in regards to how that doesn't trickle down from the mother to our fellow sisters like a MJ or anybody that we have dealt with. I don't know how you fellas and sister feel about that, but I think that's a lot where it comes from.
Yeah, and the reason why I wasn't too quick to jump in is because I was a little fortunate to be raised by my mother and father. Right. And my father made me and my younger brother promise that, if we do engage in a relationship with a woman, that we're there to protect the family and we're there to take care of our kids, even up to his deathbed. He made me and my brother promise. And that's something that I'm upholding. So I can't really relate to the fact that the father wasn't in the home, but I have had a lot of cousins and good friends who didn't have the father there. And on a psychological standpoint, they view themselves and their world as isolated from everything else. So they are isolated, although they're in a community, but they don't view the community as part of them. So that's why they go out there and they commit crimes in this manner, because they only have themselves to depend on. It's only me and my mama. You know, they have the F the world mentality. I don't care if you're black or white. I'm after my own, because I have no ties to the communities in that manner because of how they were brought up, because they seen abandonment from their father or their mother or from their community as a whole, because the community is not unified. So therefore it's like, man, it's every man for themselves. You know, so that's why it's easy for them, especially with the music and the way black men are depicted amongst themselves. They hate their blackness. And those who can't relate, you hear the terms like, you black ass mother, you dirty black, you know what I'm saying? We would use these terminologies. So we demonize ourselves. So it's easy for them to kill one another because there's no honor amongst them. You know what I mean? So when you feel like you're isolated from the world and you're on your own and you only have to have your own back, then you're not viewing it as though that you're playing a negative role in the community. So
agreed.
MJ, you had something?
Cedric, are you there?
Oh, I thought you had something to say.
No, go ahead. Yeah. If you have something, yeah.
Oh, I was just applauding that because it's true. I mean, now things are a lot more different for me personally now than they were as I was growing up, because I was raised by two strong, independent, quote unquote, black women. I had my grandmother and my mother. Even our dog was a woman. So it wasn't until my high school boyfriend told me, I see why you are the way that you are. And I was like, why? Like, what do you mean the way that I am? He goes, you won't allow somebody to love you because you haven't seen a relationship in the household. And I was 16 years old when my 16-year-old boyfriend told me this in high school. And I have thought about that up until now as a 24-year-old. And my relationship now, like my relationship with my dad is great. I love him. That's my guy. Even him and my mom have a great relationship, although they're not together. But things were a lot different growing up. I didn't have that in front of me. The closest thing I'd see are, my mom did a great job with having me be around like people in the church that had great relationships from what people could see. And, and then what I saw on TV. So it's just, I think that maybe, Antoine, that had to do with where I'm at now with my relationship, with being into an interracial relationship. But I know that was like a huge thing for me. And going back to how women are, and Black women specifically, and this anger or this cloud above us that people say that we have, if that's how they were raised themselves, if they were only raised in a household full of independent women like myself, then I feel like that would have a lot to do with things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think, when we're talking about rebranding our community, this is why the number one step is reinstilling the image of the Black father in the home. You know what I'm saying? Because this is where it comes. This is what comes from on Father's Day, how the single mothers are also shouted out, right? This is where that comes from. You know, I had to be the mama and the daddy. Now, I will correct this. I love my mama to death. My propriety, my work ethic, how I view women, how I look at women, it all stems from Barbara. But at the same time, there's just certain things that she could not teach me.
Right.
As a man. And luckily I had my father to instill those things in me, right? But him still, the presence. And when we say presence, because one of the sisters made a great point, say the father can be present, but not playing his role, right? So when we're talking about presence, we talk about presence. One of the things that I did with my son the other day is, I got this thing that if he misses his chore, the whole next day he can't play the video game. Whole next day can't, right? I just take it away from him. So he missed it the other day, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to just tell him to not play the game. And so I brought up this beautiful lecture that I love called The Conspiracy to Kill Black Boys. And it's by Dr. Kanwaza Kanjafu.
Yes.
Okay? Yeah. Kanwazna. Man, that brother right there was the game. But one of the things that he said was, we raise our daughters, but we love our sons.
Yes.
And what he meant by that, and you know what's so funny? When I asked my son, what was one of the biggest takeaways he got from that? Man, do you know he said that? That's what he said. Now, that's the biggest. My son is 12. My son is 13. All right. And the biggest takeaway that he got from that was to love our daughters and raise our daughters and love our sons, right? And what we mean by that is we'll have them clean the bathroom, we had him wash the dishes, you know, this, that, you know, and the son is, that's my baby, that's my, you know, listen, it was me and my brother, you know what I'm saying? But I saw that from my mom to my brother. You know, I think the reason why it didn't catch my brother is because he saw me always cleaning the bathroom, always cleaning my room, washing the dishes, you know, stuff like that. So it kind of trickled off to him. But the reason he used the term countering the conspiracy to kill black boys, because he stated, if you get a black boy early enough and you don't instill those values in him, then he never becomes a man.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it was very profound. And I think what it starts with, look, we can be out in the street and we can do stop the violence rallies for young brothers that's passing away, and we still do that. But the most change you gonna make if you are a father, it starts with your kids. It starts with your son. It starts with your daughters. It starts with and feeding them the information. So I'm trying to come up with a way to where I just slowly feed that information, because they know what I'm about. They know what I'm into, and we have conversations. But for them to just feed into it themselves. So for me to give him that, and I say, we'll talk about it after you're done. And this is an hour lecture. This is an hour lecture, right? Not just a book, but just a lecture I showed him. And for him to take away the same thing that I took away from it, the highlight of it, right? That's what we have to do. We have to feed that information. One thing I love, I don't really too much rock with him, but the one thing I agree with Steve Harvey when he says, if we raise better boys, they become better men, and women have better choices to choose from. Right? So if we talk about the voting and how it's the lesser of the two evils, right now, for the most part, our sisters have lesser of the two evils. Now, we can always delve deeper in that and say, well, there's a lot of sisters that just like ain't shit dudes, the edgy dude, you know, I've been called a square a lot of times in my life from a sister. You know what I'm saying? But that was just that. It didn't drive me away from sisters. It was just like, okay, that's just the energy you on. Like, I'm not a street dude. You know what I'm saying? Don't mean I ain't gonna fight for myself and you. You know what I'm saying? But I think where that comes from, it goes back to what MJ was saying. The reason why that sister goes to the hustler or the drug dealer or the gangster or whatever is because he does have an edge about him. He does have this level of comfortability she gets that if something happens, he's going to protect me.
It's the bad boy. Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it comes from, that kind of energy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, in the day, if I would rage out or whatever case may be, like some sisters be like, "Ooh, you look sexy," you know what I'm saying? Because they never seen that side. It's like, yo, my man came out of his body, like he came out of his body, like whoa. And the reason why I don't, and the reason why I always never did, is because I grew up in domestic violence, and I love my pop to death. Everybody know I love my daddy, but I grew up watching it. So for me, I learned from a very young age, and I told myself from a very young age I would never put my hands on a woman or anything of that sort. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, I never took on the bad boy image or to tell a girl F you and she still come back to me. So I never understood that. Like, I never understood how my brother can hang up on a girl and a minute later she calls him back. And then I get hung on and I'm like, "Hey, baby, pick up the phone." Pick up the phone. Hey, pick up the phone. So I will say this from a brother that, a simp, exactly. from a brother that, you know, wasn't a street dude per se, I'll say this: I did experience some of that rejection, right? And I think if you're not strong-minded or whatever the case may be, I think Michael Jordan experienced some of that rejection. You know what I mean? You know, and even a lot of hood dudes is like, they so rough that that's not what they want from the opposite of their woman. So, you know, a Wayne or a 50 Cent or whatever the case may be. MJ, what I want to talk to you about is your thought process on that, because again, you know, it is, you know, brothers like me that I didn't grow up with an edge, and that purposely was from me seeing what aggressiveness from a man to a woman does. You know what I'm saying? Like I saw that. So for me, I'm like, why they like to be treated like that? Like, she really let dude treat him like shit, and like he get in it. Like, you know, I'm opening the door, I'm being nice, I ain't really trying to be too sexual with you, but I'm told, oh, I'm sweet, and I get friend zoned like the whole high school. So, you know what I'm saying? It's like, when you see that, it could create a level of resentment, right? That if I wasn't shown that attention from other types of black women, I don't know if I would have swayed to the foreign or the exotic, you know, or something of that sort. But I have experienced it. Have you seen that? Is that something that you have an opinion on in regards to brothers such as myself that, you know, don't come from that environment or choose not to really just have that kind of energy experience and that kind of rejection?
Sorry that I'm taking a minute to respond, because I
No
want
problem.
Yeah.
I feel like I agree with you 110% about when it comes to protection. I think a lot of women, when they see that, it's like, okay, now I feel protected because he's showing this side and what have you. I feel like because a lot of black women, such as myself, comes from a background where there might not be two parents in the household, and they feel as they have to be independent or they have to defend themselves, they have to be a defender, they might want someone who's going to show them off rip that is what kind of energy they're bringing to the table. Period. And I guess that comes from a level of, I don't want to say self-hate, but insecurity, where if a woman's like keeps going back to a man who's going to not treat them the best, it comes from, yeah, I mean, it could be a stem of self-hate. But for men, I have seen that a lot too, where they're quote unquote nice guys, and they kind of get pushed off to the side because, oh, well, you're not bringing this energy to the table that I need, quote unquote. I don't know. I'm hoping I'm answering this correctly, because I feel like I'm not diving into it the way that I could. That's why I'm really trying to choose my words. Could you
Understandable.
rephrase your question for me?
All right. So, because I know I'm a little babbly. So just
Okay.
so just basic question is, for the brothers that aren't the street dude, let's just put it like that for the sake of conversation, right? That isn't the street dude, that's the gentleman, that's the, you know what I mean, that has experienced that kind of rejection. What do you speak to that? Because you know, Wise, I know you can really speak to it in having that kind of experience, and maybe kind of hiding some of the things, right? Kind of hiding some of your nerdiness back in the day, because a chick ain't interested in computer science and you know, technology, so you kind of got to dumb it down a little bit, right? So but I've have experienced that, you know, I have experienced you know, just being called a simp, being called a square, just because of how I look and how I move. You know what I'm saying? And don't think that I'm not going to handle my business as a man when it come down to it. And I will say this, for non-strong-headed brothers, I think that is one of the reasons that will drive them to go this way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying now. I think because there are plenty of women who experience that as well. There's a girl named Brittany who was on here earlier. I'm not sure if she's still on here, but her comment was pinned. Her and I have actually had this conversation before, where she's told me that she feels like, oh, a lot of black men don't like me because I'm weird. And yes, Brittany. So her and I had just had this conversation probably about a week or two ago. But it's like, I don't want to say, where are you looking for these people? Because that sounds kind of like, but at the same time, it goes back to how how black people and black culture is depicted as a whole, in my opinion. That might not be the sole reason. But if you look at how black people are, the persona of black culture on TV, what you see in the media and what have you, you're seeing, people won't consider you black enough because you might not like a certain type of music. You might not like rap. You might be more into indie music
or the famous "You're talking white."
You're talking what, right? And I was called an Oreo my whole life. Cedric, I know you know this. I made a post a while back about my experience with a girl that I went to high school with, a white girl who made a slut list, and it went viral in my high school. She put people's first names and their last names, but in the middle put like a nickname for them. Mine was Marissa wishes she was white, because one of my last names is white. And that's how people viewed me at school. Oh, you're an Oreo, you talk white. There were black girls who didn't like me because of whatever reason. There were white girls who didn't like me because of whatever reason. So I think that it kind of touches around that world, that atmosphere of how black people are viewed and how we almost have to carry ourselves a certain way to be respected as a black person, instead of being accepting to the fact that we can be whoever we want to be and as black as we are, and it still be quote unquote okay. I think that kind of dances around that line of how black women may or may not view black men who are not going to be hood or what have you.
Right. No, and that's a great point. Waz, I'm gonna swing it to you. One of another profound thing in that lecture from Dr. Kunwaza was, he said, we shun the scholar and praise the athlete. And I'm gonna add /entertainer, because at the time this lecture came out, hip hop really wasn't like, ruling the world, right? But I've seen that, when I listen to people like a James Baldwin, or you listen to Martin speak, or you listen to Malcolm speak, or Dr. Claude Anderson, or Dr. Francis Cress Welsling, or any other scholars, when you listen to them speak, it's like, man, they are. Cornel West, he got passion, but he speaks with such articulate delivery. But growing up, you'll be told that, oh, you talking proper, or why you talking proper, or why you talking white. Waz, I want you to speak from your experience, because there are certain things that you just are naturally savvy in. Did you feel that there was a certain point in time where it was hard for you to really fully be yourself around a certain type of sister, because you didn't think that she was into that, or may look at you nerdy or soft, or have you experienced that?
So I grew up in the streets.
Yeah.
Right. So I was pretty selective when I was younger. I don't know, maybe it's because of how my father and mother raised me. And they kind of taught me to be more cautious when it comes to choosing who you're going to be with. So really, I had my own filter. So if I seen, or if I conversed with a woman who didn't, have the intellectual capabilities to hold conversations in that manner, then I'd keep it moving. I just kept looking. I did run into situations where there were women, black women, who were more educated than me, and I just couldn't meet up to where they were at, because I was still growing.
Right.
And they filtered me out. And I wanted more because they kind of lit a fire in me. I love that. I want more, but they were like, nah, I need something higher. You know what I'm saying? So I've been filtered out. But it's just part of the things that you run into when you're experiencing the phenomenon called life. I think a lot of people need to understand that, you know, you can't always hold on to the victim type of mindset. And when I say victim, people feel like they need to be in this community because they were bullied, or they need to cancel this community because they were bullied. Everyone experienced bullying. Everyone. Some more than others, but everyone have experienced it. And, you know, you just got to, and that's why, you know, I think Kunjufu had touched on the fact that in other lectures, right, on like learning how to fail and how it's important for children when they're young to learn how to fail, because if everyone's a winner, then you're creating a society, a group of people who can't deal with failure, even when it comes to bullying. And I know that they've been trying to eliminate bullies out of the school systems, but the bully plays an intricate role when it comes to society as a whole. When that one person learn how to deal with the bully in the school, then outside of school, in the world, he'll know how to deal with the bully then. Because you could try to shelter these children from the bully, but then when they get out in the real world, you're going to get slapped in the face, because the world do not care about your feelings. You know, there is no shelter. There's no one to come and protect you out in the real world. I wanted to kind of go back to what you and MJ was talking about. And maybe this is going to be on another segment. And I think this is very important.
Okay.
That our little black boys and girls are being programmed in the school system. And it kind of happens from college to high school to middle school or junior high and elementary school. But and I'm gonna elaborate, right? Let's look at it like this. When I was in middle school, when I would want to date a girl there, or if I had a crush on a girl and I tried to make my move, she was uninterested. Why? Because she was more interested in the boy who was in high school, who was a little older. You know what I'm saying? Now, when I've grown, I thought I got it. I got a little muscle, you know, testosterone started kicking in. You know, I started flourishing a little bit in high school, and I tried to make a move on the girl I had a crush on in high school. She wasn't interested because she was more interested in the guy who was in college.
Yeah, I don't date no guy at school. My boyfriend 18.
They're so immature.
But it's dangerous, right? And I'm just trying to lay out the dangers of that, because I remember in high school seeing grown men come pick up 16-year-old women from the school and go off and do what? And how these girls will come back to school feeling grown because they're with an older man with a car and money and so on and so forth. And in reverse, I don't want it to only be on the women's side, that young boys are out there just trying to, you know, conquer women. You know what I'm saying? So being with the older women, you got more credit. Being with the older women and then coming to high school with that older woman dropping you off or whatever it is, and other women see that, they're like, damn, maybe he should be the one we talk to because he's messing with older women. He's experienced. You see what I'm saying? So this is what I'm saying, that there's some programming going on even in our school system. You'll see that operate. I'm not sure if you guys experienced that, but I've seen it many times.
Absolutely. I think that was one of the things that was so prevalent, right? For those that didn't want to let go of R. Kelly, when the R. Kelly thing documentary dropped, like that was the thing that was so prevalent. Like, oh, so y'all act like y'all ain't gonna tell me, y'all ain't know that 16-year-old girl in high school that had that 18-year-old boyfriend. Like, it is something that kind of goes on. But for me, and I'll just be real, it all goes back to the father and having that presence and teaching. Excuse me.
Bless you. Bless you.
That's you, man.
Bless you.
Excuse me, y'all.
You got another one? Are you good?
Had to get all that Rona. No, I'm playing. Now I'm gonna be real with you, man. I think a lot of it, man, it just has to do with some level of security or insecurity in that regard. I mean, we go back to the bully. One things I said is, we always, and as we should, right? We always dive to the victim of the bully, right? But we have to understand, just like we pull that kid to the side that got bullied and we make sure he's okay, we also got to pull that bully to the side. Because there is no reason why 11, a 10, 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old kid is coming to school and taking advantage of a kid that he feel is weaker. And we all know that stems more than likely he or she is experiencing abuse in the home. So what we have to do is, after we sit them down and mediate, right? We sit them down and mediate. Now it's the parent's responsibility to tell that kid that got bullied how to take up for themselves in a respectful manner. But now the guidance counselor got to call the parents in to the bully from the bully and say, hey, what's going on? Or matter of fact, not even the parents first. Sit down and talk to the bully. Hey, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? I'm going to be real with you. There's a reason 50 Cent is how he is. Yep. There's a reason he's always falling out with his friends or doing something kind of child syndrome type of thing. There was some kind of rejection there. There was something there where he felt like, me doing this makes me feel comfortable. Even if it makes other people feel comfortable, I no longer feel comfortable. And I can say that because he's a Cancer. I'm a Cancer like a mother. You know what I'm saying? I'm a Cancer like a mother. We get sensitive. We overly sensitive. And so when I see these things, this is something that we also have to focus on, period, right? And a lot of that comes and a lot of that stems from the abuse, so we definitely have to look at all of that when it comes to our babies. But everything that we've talked about tonight, family, I think it stems from when we were kids, right? So if we know that it stems from when we were kids, for those, am I the only parent on this platform?
Yeah. I got dogs.
No,
I got dogs.
No,
you're
okay. Okay, B, I was about to say, you lucky mofos and getting all your sleep. But anyway, so if we know we experiencing all these things that we talked about tonight based on being in a young age, then we got to make sure that if we have children or nieces or nephews or little cousins, that we catch it at those same ages, right? Because things are being sped up even more now. You know what I'm saying? Like, the age that I first found my little magazine ain't the age that a lot of these kids are finding their little magazine. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. It's on TV now. It ain't the little scramble screen no more. You feel what I'm saying?
It's on your phone.
Right, there we go. And so now we thought we grew up fast, right? Now they growing up fast. So now the information has to be told earlier. It has to be told a little bit more raw. It has to be told a little bit more with just the straight ahead truth. And we try to do that, with our children. We have 2 teenagers, and, that's when parenting really gets hard. Yeah. It ain't when you buy diapers and all that. All right. Parenting get hard when that personality develop, when they going through and they experiencing, like you said, Wise, this thing called life. Because when they start going to school, just like we are at work, we're away from them. You know what I'm saying? We're away from them the whole work shift, and they at school, and it's certain things that they're going through and stuff like that. And I remember, and so it just goes back to the youth.
They're being influenced by their peers and by their friends and by their teachers, and sometimes that doesn't line up with what the parents are trying to do when they're at home. I think it's a good point to swing it over to Cedric, because we have a good connection, and I want to hear from you. But we were talking before the stream about your involvement with teenagers and your desire to really kind of grow the youth in the right way and have a good effect on them. So I'd love to hear from you on what Tom was just saying.
Yeah, it starts young, man. I just want to finally take a moment. Internet. I'm literally about to throw this router down the stairs and watch it hit every step. But this is the night. The devil's working.
It's all good.
Okay. So to just piggyback on everything y'all been talking about, yes, I feel like I'm the most eccentric person that I know. I pride myself on being different. I feel like that's 87% of why I'm single. I just haven't found somebody who matched my energy, who like put out what I'm also offering. I understand the weirdness and like being looked at differently and not being somebody's type. I get all of that. I find myself like now, if I see an attractive Black woman, I feel like she don't, give me the time of day. I feel like, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I respect that. But I also feel like looking at myself and how like I hate rejection. That's why I don't really shoot no shots. I've been horrible at basketball all my life. Like I told John when I met him, like I'm tall for no reason. Like
you used to be the dudes I was mad at. Like, man, why God ain't make me 6'2"? Why ain't make me 6'2"?
Yo, if I could just tell y'all how many times shorter people look at me like like if I could just put your hand on a basketball on some Space Jam and take my talent and put it inside of you, we would make a lot of money. And I'm like, when you find it, when you find this Mike's secret sauce, bro, let me know. Right. But
that goes to I know it's the joke.
I work at a theme park, and I don't make a lot of money, and I'm not the richest person, but like I'm the wealthiest person you gonna know. Like I'm so frugal. Like if you could just like look around my house real quick, like I buy everything twice. Like I got junk for days. Like just everything. I'm on eBay every day. $15, you name it, I got it. I got every knockoff GoPro, Droid, everything you think of. And I love me, and I'm never gonna stop. And I like art, and like I like creating art, and I like showing art. And so like I'm starting to see like, okay, like I'm going to these cons and like, oh, she real attractive and she real nerdy. You know what I'm talking about? Like, like that's my type right there. So I'm like, it's finally feeling like we've come far enough that like she always been out there, and the one for me is out there, and we gonna cross paths one day. So I gotta get into all these tools and make what I need to create to make her find me and whatnot. And we starting to see it. Like, I love playing Fortnite, and me and MJ have bonded so much on playing Fortnite. And who would have thought, like growing up, like I never would have like imagined like being able to play a game with my friends like we did back in the day. And N64 had them 4 ports on it, and so you put 4 controllers in there, and we was playing Smash Bros all day and just having a good time. But like you didn't really have no non-tomboy friends who you could be attracted to. You wasn't able to hand the controller over to your girlfriend back in the day and like let her like actually be good at the game. I played Mortal Kombat with my little sister, and she used to whoop my behind, but she used to button mash, and she didn't know what she was doing. That's it. We all had different consoles in the house, and she started off the PlayStation. I started off the Xbox, genre, and she was playing like PlayStation and whatnot. But I'm just like, she wanted to play like Barbie, like no games I wanted to play. I wanted to play Halo. I wanted to play all these other games. So it just wasn't ingrained in us. And so like we talk about this all the time, me and MJ. Like when we hear a girl on the game, we're just like, yo, girl gamers are really out here. And so it's just like they're out here, but like, what do they look like? Do they look like, Serena Williams and Halle Berry, and like you want your cake and you want to be able to eat it too. So I'm attracted. Right. That's what I see. But I know Halle Berry ain't gonna never look at me because like I'm crazy, but she could be crazy too. But it's like we're so caught up in like materialistic, like, oh, I'm a 6 and I'll be going for these 11s, and it's just like you don't feel like going, above and beyond the bar. The bar is ever going to come down to you and accept you for who you are, and like you're gonna have to give up, the video games to get, you a bad chick. And you see all in social media and on TikTok, they doing challenges where they taking all their clothes off and they walking in front of, the camera, or they walking in front of the game to get you off the game. And it's just like, wait, why you not playing the game though? Like, as soon as I see that, like, wait. And then let
me beat you first. Let me beat you first. Hold on, let me beat you.
Yeah, right. Like you got to give her the control, and the controller got to be on, bro. Like don't play her. Like she actually about these skills. But like the way MJ be snatching these dudes on this game, and I'm just like, y'all don't even know what she look like. And she's like, I'm a whole catfish, and I'm like, no, she's not. But like, they really out here, and so like, you just got to, keep fishing. You got to keep shooting these shots and whatnot. And so like, I know she out there. We're gonna find her one day because all MJ fans fine. So what's good? But
right. I think you know what this
like,
goes
hey,
to.
you got a friend, she playing video games. Tell her to slide in. But
this goes to a bigger.
For Alex though, I didn't even Fortnite was not even my forte like that. But
right,
that Alex is nerdy, and what have you. I was like looking at the comments. He said, "Amen." I said, "Amen" for what?
Yeah, I started laughing. That's why I started laughing. But really quick, family, because B, you let me know if you want me.
Yeah.
Okay. So
we can whatever we're ready to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So to close it out real quick, one of the things I will say, and we joked and we laughed, but again, it goes back to rebranding the image of us, right? Yes. So, for example, like, and I'm guilty of it, right? We just talked about this. Like, if someone sees Wise his size right now, he's in high school. First thing they gonna ask him is, "Man, you play football?" You know what I'm saying? When they see you said and you tall, they're gonna say, "Man, you play basketball?" Not even volleyball, right? Yeah. Not even volleyball, like just like basketball or football. Like, so I think like, yeah, we joke about it, but that goes back to the stigma, right? That we have to get away from to say, like my son is a tree, man. You should see my son, Jay. This kid's a tree now. But it's like he likes ball, but by the time I was his age, man, I was. But you know what I'm saying? But that's just it was laid out for him like it was laid out for me, but that's not his interest. You know what I'm saying? I just told y'all, like I have a thing, I got to get him off the game between a certain time because that joker will run it the whole day. You know what I'm saying? So, but I asked him, I say, look, if you're going to dedicate your time to it, what you doing with it? You know what I'm saying? Are you making money off of it? Are you know what I'm saying? And him and his little friends, they got a little group or whatever. So I think that just because, a brother is tall or he bulky, like ask him what his interests are, Biggie voice, you know what I'm saying? But ask him what his interests are. Like a lot of dudes, and this is so true. If you ever wonder why like tall dudes go in the NBA and they don't pan out, that is the dude that only played ball because his coach told him, you're going to play ball.
Yeah. Wow.
Because you're tall.
It's true.
You know what I'm saying? You're going to play ball because you're tall. You're going to play football. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Brian, man, we're going to put you on the line. You know what I'm saying?
First question when I walked into University High School in Orlando is, you play football, right? Not, you play football, right? I mean, I'm 6'4", 350. I mean, easy. And I never played football. I played freshman football in Jersey, but I'll tell you what, I was not the best player on the team. That's for damn sure.
Right.
I wasn't a football player.
Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. So I think what we have to do is we have to present our kids with all options, but we have to let them know, and this is why I love Wise so much, we have to let them know scholarship first, right? It's just like a Black-owned business, right? Like everybody leads with, support me, I'm a Black-owned business. It's not, yo, I got great customer service, I got a great product, I got a great environment. Oh, and by the way, it's Black-owned, right? So it's the same thing. It's like, listen, this brother's smart, this sister's smart, they into computers, they're into art, whatever the case may be. Oh, and by the way, he can hoop. Or she fast as hell. You know what I'm saying? And then if they lead to that, then that's different than, and again, this goes back to improving the resources in our inner cities, right? And improving real programs in our inner cities so these kids can grow up to aspire to be something more than a ball player or something else. Because just like Dr. Claude Anderson said, we don't produce nothing but sweat, and ain't nobody buying sweat. So we have to talk about economic status in regards to the society. We seeing right now the essential businesses, right? So that's what we have to do. We have to let them know that, hey, there are things out there that are essential, and sports can be a way, but just don't make it the only way. But that's only going to come from instituting programs in a system that talks about law enforcement, so a kid can aspire to be that. Or a kid can aspire to be a politician or aspire to be a lawyer because, in his inner city, they had law programs. So through that, he was able to tell his homeboys that was on the block, hey, this is what happened if this happened, do. And then he grows up and aspire to be a lawyer, right? You know what I mean? So these are the things, but what we do to our jits, and I did it too. Soon as they turn 4, they either going to junior magic or they going to Pee-wee. You know what I'm saying? Right. Junior magic or Pop Warner. That's where they going. You know what I'm saying? And so we have to teach them scholarship and say, oh, and by the way, man, if you want to play a sport, is that. So I definitely want to dive into that in the future. I don't know if anybody has any closing comments in regards to the show. Obviously, shout out to everybody out there on the live that has engaged with us. I appreciate y'all for letting me lead the talk. Appreciate B, Wise, MJ, Said, John, wherever you are. But if anybody, want to close it out, we'll start with the sister first.
I love y'all. I haven't met any of you except for Cedric. Everyone who watched, thank you so much. Sorry I got a little off topic sometimes. You know how we are when we were talking. So
hey, listen, this is a conversation. There ain't no there we have themes that we want to talk about, but this is a free conversation. Ain't no topic questions, ain't no set topics. If every topic we were supposed to talk about today took a shift, we got listeners either way, and we not done talking. So this is one big conversation that we just don't have the phone battery to continue to have. It's gonna continue.
I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all for keeping me in the conversation as well. Just
absolutely.
And we enjoy having you here, MJ. You're, like I said, you bring good energy and you bring a bright smile, which is always nice to, when you're trying to hear, some things that are delicate. But like Cedric was saying, the having an outline script for these things is an agenda. And honestly, more important for me.
Shout out to Kira. She said no script.
Exactly.
She throwing shade with me, but it's all right.
More important than following the road and following a script or following an agenda is for us to all just be able to speak freely, because that's really we've spent. I don't know about you guys, but and MJ and Lady, I spend so much time thinking about all these things that I'm really ready to have a conversation when we're ready to sit here and just talk based on, what comes up and where the conversation goes. Right. And, there was, some things that we were going to touch on tonight that we didn't go to and we didn't get to, but, it wasn't at the sake of equally important conversation, because we're covering equally important things, which are, listen, we could write a script for what we wanted to talk about this morning at 11 o'clock, but it's 11 o'clock right now.
11, baby, 11.
Right. And what we're thinking and what we're feeling and what the conversation has invoked in all of us is, I think, more important than us, staying to the script. But the beautiful thing about Orlando Strong and the broadcast network is that we can have these conversations all the time, and we can turn on the, stream and pick a conversation and talk about that for 30 minutes and then turn it off. It doesn't always have to be this.
And it's going to happen.
It is going to happen.
It's going to happen when you have leaders.
Yep.
Like everybody on the screen right now. And I'm so proud. Like, I'm having every single internet problem that I've had all quarantine. And I know everybody home, and I know everybody in this neighborhood is on the same internet right now. But like, it's gonna get fixed. But even if it don't, like, the fact that we're so resilient and we had topics that needed to be talked about, and I wasn't able to lead them, but it's so many leaders. Like, kudos to y'all, man. I appreciate you, Twine. I thank you for, heading up always, bro. I really wanted to talk, like, I'm just gonna tease the conversation that's supposed to happen tonight. Okay. I want to be in Twan's shoes and eyes as all of these protests and everything are happening, the way the media sees him. I want y'all to hear when I hear how it all started for him. And we were going to talk about that tonight, but we're going to, have to have another conversation another night to get into all that. We're going to talk about the protests. We're going to talk about allyship, because I know a lot of y'all out there feel like it's white people versus white people with this Black Lives Matter thing. Black people versus black people with this Black Lives Matter thing. And I wanted to get into it this week because it just kept going to a head. And before the information got out of our heads, Twan helped me confront the black on black, vibes that we were feeling. And I wanted everything he said to me. Like, I know he the only person that could see me feel it, but I was just like Raven Simone staring out into the distance as he was laying all this knowledge on me. And what I really would have appreciated, because like right now, like Newstead is on something else where I just take my phone out and I just be recording stuff, because like I need that. I need to meditate on it, and I need it ingrained in my core. And so I wanted him to say it on here so I could, hit up Orlando Strong page and run it back, because it was just like I wish I knew what he was saying. And it was so like ingrained in our school systems and our education. He just pulled the whole blanket up, and the textbook stayed on the desk and whatnot. And so I was just like, we need to get in front of Jay Wise and just eat all of this up and get it out there, because like I know we got 14 viewers still at 11 on my clock. Like people are here for that. Like you could be watching, you could be anywhere else. You can watch whatever else you wanted to, but you making time for this. And so as I see it, I'm just like, yo, everybody, it's time to eat. Like this Thanksgiving, like 15 plates, you know what I'm saying, and 13 to go plates, because that's how we do at the cookout. Give me all the aluminum foil.
Right.
And
absolutely said, and I wanted Jay Wise to close it out, but I appreciate that, and I was happy to be there and be a part of that conversation, and we're going to bring that to the forefront and be in the middle of two brothers to say, all right, let me give context to what he's saying, because I definitely feel
that's it.
How know what I'm saying? You could feel that way, right? So and that's one of the things we have to do. And I learned so much.
And I was just
right,
like,
and that's
there. Who knows where our understanding would have been?
Right, and I've learned that from my big brother, my mentor. Wise is definitely somebody that I've always learned from. But just formulating an opinion based on my own studies and my own observations. One of the things, another teaser, Brian, that I would love to talk about in this allyship thing is I definitely want to hear from a white brother in regards to your stance in this whole thing. Right, some of the things that you may question. Some of the things you've been questioning about with your friends, if you lost, family members or whatnot, some of the things that you see. And so we definitely want to kick that off, with you next week and give you that whole dissertation, and we can kind of, play off that, because I would love to hear.
It might not have to be next week. We were only doing Wednesdays for a certain reason. And, we hit the finale today, so it could be this weekend. So one of our top fan has said that, top share has said that we need a weekend vibe, and so people still going to work, and so 11:15 on a Wednesday night ain't cutting it. So like if y'all trying to turn up for the Saturday, we might have to do a Friday night vibe, or
we can talk,
Saturday.
We definitely talk. We definitely talk off off air, that way I can give you the schedule and everything. What I'm saying. But Wise, I wanted you to close. I wanted you to I wanted you to close it out, brother. With whatever your thoughts was in regards to tonight, and anything teaser wise that on our next sit down.
Yeah. So again, thank you for always having me, giving me a platform to also speak from my perspective, and those who are in the groups that I'm in to kind of grow from this conversation. So we kind of touched on a lot. It might have felt like we were off topic, but I think we covered so much because it's so in depth. So it's just so much for us to do. So, I think everyone who's in the stream sharing and sitting through for an hour and 40 minutes of this, being engaged. I want to give a big shout out to my little sister, Merlene Smith. She just released her podcast called Solidify. It's spelled SOULIDIFY. She studied psychology just like her big bro, and she got her degree. She's been working in the field for quite some time, helping. She's been helping families and children. She originally was helping children, and she helped now just do the whole, like, children and families. And she started her podcast. So check that out, Solidify, or Solidify, but it's spelled SOULIDIFY. It's on iTunes, Spotify.
I hope you don't mind this, Jay Wise. I'm gonna put it up right there.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Shout out to production.
There you go.
Yeah.
Come on, production.
So I'm very proud of her. You know, I've been pushing her. Look, I'm a snitch. I've been pushing her for almost 6 years to do this because I felt like her background in psychology and the work that she's been doing in the community is very important. And I would like her voice to be out there so that people could reach out to her and be able to, you know, have communications. When it comes to mental health, there aren't very much Black women or Black males who's in that field. So it's very limited to our group when it comes to mental health. And she's in that field. If you have some issues or whatever, you know, feel free to reach out to her. She's pretty open, pretty honest, and she comes from a spiritual background. So if that's something that
Come on, MJ, own it.
Sure,
So check it out. That's her
Here,
first.
man.
That's
Here,
her.
man.
She's sweet. She has a nice heart. I love her a lot, and I'm very proud of you.
That's awesome.
What's up, man? So yeah, we appreciate it, family. We thank you. We will see you sometime in the near future, whether it's this week or the next. Everybody stay safe, continue to stay strong, continue to study, bring these conversations to the table. And yeah, we'll do it like that. So B, it's on you.
All right, here we go. Thanks for joining us. Have a good night. Okay.